This is a video response to Johannan about Israel's right to exist. Well, I do understand that you had made some very valid points that directly coincide with Israel's basically path to sovereign existence, but I really don't think that you go further enough into historical detail because, I mean, Palestine as a sovereign state in its traditional existence has never really existed. That is a fact of reality. I mean, basically, the Ottoman Empire had controlled the region for centuries, but Palestine was not just relinquished to the British colonial empire under the Treaty of Versailles immediately after the World War One. That was essentially a part of the reparations that had divided the Middle East between the French and British empires. And at that time, even before the end of the First World War, the Ottomans retreated out of Palestine, and the land, the territory, was already occupied by the British. So the only thing the treaty did was it just made the British occupation legal and forged the territory into British rule from Ottoman rule. Now, Palestine has basically been a region or a land in which has been the target of foreign occupiers that exceeds the days of the Crusades. Obvious reasons because of its because of the Holy Land and the three major religions' attachment to its initial significance. But that can explain the reason what compels so many degrees of differentiating interest. I mean, we even have a group that wants to establish a Christian state along the lines of its Jewish counterpart, but it wouldn't only be Christian in its definitive nature. And the bottom line here is, in regards to where we could go with this in the future, the politics of extremism simply don't work anymore. There won't be a future for Jews. There won't be a future for Palestinians in the country if they continue to resort to politics to degrees of ideological extremism. Zionism is an unjustifiable ideology that contradicts the literal principles of the Judaic faith. Zionism does not represent Judaism. It is essentially an extreme amalgamation of the true. It's an amalgamation of different extremist beliefs that are intent on building a Jewish homeland in Palestine. In the Quran, we even have a reference that indicates the Jews will in fact establish their land and will return to Canaan, an ancient Judaic name for Israel, within a given time. We've already witnessed that. But nonetheless, my point here is the principles of Zionism contradict the Judaic faith. It's an extremist ideology. Judaism does not tolerate extremism. Likewise, and the Palestinians need to learn to come to negotiate and accept the fact that they won't be able to drive the Zionists out of the sea. They're going to have to come together and compromise and recognize each other's right to exist and build a new state that equally celebrates Jews and Arabs under a new emphasis of sovereignty. You want to talk about a peace process? Well, there's basically a good solution for you right there. The peace process that's going on right now in the Middle East, it's nothing but a joke, okay? Essentially, you're just having these different extremist groups that are basically bargaining on the table, not accomplishing a single thing, and the Zionist settlers continue to infringe on properties in the West Bank and the Gaza. And is that justifiable? And Palestinian extremists, suicide bombers, walk into busy squares in Haifa and Tel Aviv. Both are not justifiable. So that would probably be the best recipe for peace. Obviously, an issue that's not really discussed. But anyway, obviously, this is a subject matter that I'm a little bit compassionate about and have a considerable degree of interest. But that's really the degree on the history of Palestine, the way how things have came to be. But I mean, there are so many different details I didn't mention in this video segment. But anyway, that's what I got to say.